All right, y'all. Today is April 30th. Y'all are going to get this very organic background. It's beautiful, right? My window. But anywho, wanted to tap into a couple of mental health support needs for individuals who have posted and see what we can get. Here we go. I'm going to start by stating that I can no longer go to a mental health professional as it will definitely hurt my future career. Just since I know somebody will recommend that, and I completely understand where you're coming from, but for me, that isn't possible. Anyway, I don't know where to start, but I had a rough childhood since my ma'am, that's what they said, my ma'am, was emotionally and physically absent due to her own mental health and illness, and then addiction alongside that. My dad wasn't in the picture until about 5 years ago, and I've grown up living with my grandparents, but I physically can't remember the majority of my childhood. I just remember the smells and certain voices, which I'll get around to soon. About 3 years ago, I went through a really rough time since my grandparents got divorced, and I failed the majority of my classes, and then also got out of a long term relationship with who I loved with every single part of my being and still do every single day. Ever since, I've been feeling this way, so I'll get into it now. I've self-medicated through drugs, and the last time I used, I had a really bad experience and hallucinated for 2 days straight, where I hear voices, not in my thoughts, but physically would hear someone speaking to me when they weren't there at all, and I was totally alone. I also seen objects move around and couldn't sleep at all. Ever since, I've been feeling these things in my everyday life, even though I'm just under 2 years sober. But recently, it's advanced where I feel like I'm being watched to the point where I feel as if someone's been in my room and placed cameras in every corner of my room and even on the fence behind my home. And I've often sat in the dark, unable to move because I think I'm being watched on a live stream by men who want to steal me. I also feel like my neighbors are in on it too. Secondly, I hear people speak to me when I'm alone or even when they haven't even opened their mouths. There's been times where I hear my family shout my name to go downstairs, but when I go downstairs, they're either not there or they're not even shouting to me. But it's not even just that. My mother's voice plays in my head where she tells me to do stuff or there will be horrible consequences. And then other times it's me speaking to myself in my head, and there will be one version where I'm panicking and stressing out about something, and another one of me in my head saying it's okay and comforting the other me. If that makes sense. So two of me in my head, and one's paranoid and the other is more comforting. I sometimes feel things are things too that aren't there. Bugs crawling on me, someone hugging me and physically feeling a hug, even though nobody's even hugging me to begin with. I see bugs all the time crawling on my wall, and then they're gone, or being next to me and then not there. But I can see them in my peripheral vision, and I see smoke. Not smoke as a cigarette, but like grayish black fog that lingers until I walk through it and it vanishes, and I get goosebumps. Right now, as I type this, I'm thinking the people from the chat room have hacked my phone and are watching me type this and freaking out, so hopefully they'll leave me alone now. I know this is probably all over the place, but I'm not too sure who to talk to about it because I'm scared to tell my friends or family in case they leave me or call professional people behind my back. Then I won't be safe. Does anyone know how to stop this feeling? I'm tired. Now, first, I want to preface that yes, I'm a clinically licensed therapist in the state of Ohio, and this is more so for educational purposes and not for diagnostic and purposes. And so what I would like to say is first acknowledging this situation at the beginning where the individual is sharing about the career is not uncommon for certain career pathways, in particular those who are medical doctors who are in the medical field, to avoid mental health services because of fear of being deemed incompetent. I've had medical providers, nurses, things of that sort on my that have come to receive services, and they would prefer to do private pay versus insurance because of this fear that their benefits, their job will find out how they're using the benefits, and then having to do a competency evaluation and ultimately lose their job. So I'm not going to fault this individual for not wanting to go in that pathway. But also too with their symptoms, it definitely is something that will require some type of a medical intervention. But so what I'm hearing is a lot of hallucinating, a lot of paranoia. There are some trauma indicators. Family members sounds like have a history of mental health, and it's not uncommon for certain diagnoses to um, be passed down genetically. And so it sounds like this individual during their their 3 year or however many years of substance use, that it triggered something. And what people don't know is that substances can trigger what we call psychosis. It can trigger having anxiety. It can trigger mental health symptoms. And so people who typically don't have, meet diagnostic criteria, but they start using alcohol, substances, it can cause mental health conditions. So we always have to figure out, is it the substances or is it the actual, biology of the brain? Because like it eats at your brain, and if that part is not functioning, then they're gonna have symptoms of some sort. And so it sounds to me that this individual is definitely experiencing some type of a paranoia, and definitely some psychosis that will require medicinal interventions. Some people tend to self-medicate, but that just makes things worse. And it's kind of like what comes right to like which priority, like self-medicated on these harsh medication, these medications versus street drugs. But also too, there's regulations and things like that when it comes to the medication, because what it's doing, it is the medication is filling in for those receptors that have been damaged that need to help your brain function in the synapses. And I'm not into biological. I'm not a pharmacist. I'm not a psychiatrist. So I just want to preface that. But the psychotropic medications, when a person is exhibiting symptoms that I've seen in working with those who have had history of substance use and psychosis, you can't do both at the same time. You have to stop the street pharmaceuticals in order to use the actual prescribed medicines. Their quality of life improves. And so, um, given that this individual is looking for how to stop this feeling, it would be medication. Just being objective, medication. And I could tell this individual to go to their primary care doctor, but primary care doctors can only prescribe medication up to a certain level, and you would have to go to a psychiatrist. And so I'm not sure how they're going to get around avoidance of this mental health providers to support what they're going through, but definitely would recommend that. Let me know your thoughts. Have you ever experienced this? What helped you if you have experienced some paranoia? If you've ever seen things that weren't there and were afraid to tell your family what was going on, to share that this individual was afraid that if she calls it, they will call EMS or things like that to take her in, lets me know that this is a pretty significant issue. And it gets worse the more it goes unmanaged, coupled with stress. So let me know your thoughts in the comments and how you would support this individual if you were to respond to her from personal experience, professional experience, or just like, I wish you well. Let me know. Talk to you later.